The president just finished his speech to the National Defense University. National Defense University, where people go to learn to be soldiers, I believe. Here at Fort McNair, he said Americans have served in uniform since 1791. That would have been the third year of the George Washington administration, if I recall correctly. 1789, 90, 91, maybe the second, third year. I'm not sure exactly what the date was that Washington was sworn in and the United States officially rebooted itself after the Articles of Confederation. But in any case, he gave his speech, and I think this is absolutely brilliant. First of all, and this of course is going to be the Fox News talking point. There's going to be two big. Let me tell you what the two big Fox News talking points are, and then we can talk about what really is going on here and what's important. The first big Fox talking point is going to be he has changed the conversation because he was under siege, and so nobody's paying attention to Darrell Issa anymore. So let's cut back to Darrell Issa and see what he has to say about this. Darrell, do you think that he got the American people to stop listening to you going after him with Benghazi and IRS and everything? And that's how it's going to play on Fox News. You're going to see, commentator after commentator all night long saying, oh, he just, he was trying to change the conversation. Well, I don't doubt that he was trying to change the conversation. But this was a speech of some consequence if it is followed through by action, and I believe it will be. I mean, he's calling out the Republicans here in this speech. First, he calls out, almost to the point of ridicule, George W. Bush and his response to 9/11. Early on in the speech, he says, "What is clear is that." Well, I'll just read it. It's okay, Shane. You don't have to find it. It is clear that we quickly drove al-Qaeda out of Afghanistan, but then shifted our focus and began a new war in Iraq. This carried grave consequences for our fight against al-Qaeda, our standing in the world, and to this day, our interests in a vital region. In other words, Bush, starting the war in Iraq, screwed the United States. And then he goes through everything that we've done to try to deal with this massive blunder. It's amazing. This morning I was walking into the studio, and there was a bunch of monitors on, and one of them was on Fox, and they were interviewing Don Rumsfeld. And I thought, only on Fox, right? Do they recycle the Bush administration people? And what credibility does this man have? And the president of the United States today is saying basically, this is not good. He says, and in some cases, I believe we compromised our basic values by using torture to interrogate our enemies and detaining individuals in a way that ran counter to the rule of law. In other words, he says the Bush administration broke the law. He started out with that. Anyhow, a little later, he goes through, there's, who we are and what we're all about. And basically what he's saying, he quoted James Madison at one point. And it's a quote that I've used in a number of, back in the 2002, 3, 4, 5 era, during the early Bush years, when I was writing real regularly for commondreams.org. I frequently, and actually in my book, We the People, the cartoon book, cartoon is the wrong word, the illustrated book, I've got that quote from James Madison. No country can maintain its, this is not the exact words, but no country can maintain its democracy in the presence of a perpetual war. In fact, Madison went even beyond that. He talked about how during times of war, the president has all these additional powers, and it can be very seductive, and we've got to be very careful about that. He threw Tim McVeigh in He says, finally, we face a real threat from radicalized individuals here in the United States. Whether it is a shooter at a Sikh temple in Wisconsin, right-wing militia guy, a plane flying into a building in Texas, well, that would be Joe Stack, or the extremists who killed 168 people at the federal building in Oklahoma City, that would be Tim McVeigh. America has confronted many forms of violent extremism in our time. That was interesting. But perhaps one of the most fascinating parts of the whole thing was he was interrupted twice. And I think I know who interrupted him. Her voice sounded quite familiar, although the cameras didn't go to her, so I'm not going to make an identification unless somebody else has already who was there. And she interrupted him once, and he said, let me finish. I'm going to say what you want to hear. And then he proceeded to say it. You have that, Shane? Here it is.
When we went, he went on to, we went on.
This is the second interruption, actually. And at this point, this being the second interruption, at this point, he's letting her finish, but they're taking her out of the room. The first time,
we're addressing that, ma'am.
They didn't actually take her out of the room. And drones are making us less safe. And compensate the victims, and what about the 16-year-old kid? And
I think that and
here he goes off script.
And I'm going off script, as you might expect here. The voice of that woman is worth paying attention to.
Wow.
Obviously.
Now he's got to distance himself from it, or Fox is going to savage him.
With much of what she said.
I don't agree.
And obviously she wasn't listening to me in much of what I said. But these are tough issues. And the suggestion that we can gloss over them,
as the Bush administration did.
When that judge sentenced Mr. Reed, the shoe bomber, he went on to point to the American flag that flew in the courtroom. That flag, he said, will fly there long after this is all forgotten. That flag still stands for freedom. So, America, we face down dangers far greater than Al-Qaeda.
So now he's back on script. But basically, I thought that was a remarkable moment. And he's saying throughout this speech, basically, Bush panicked. Bush did awful things. The country went in the wrong direction. We've ended that war in Iraq, arguably. We're not torturing people anymore. He wants to close down Guantanamo. He called out Congress. He said the only reason that Guantanamo is not closed, I'm paraphrasing here, is because of politics. It was really a remarkable speech. We'll be right back.